I heard you were a parrot salesman.
Oh, that wasn't the worst job I ever had. It said that was the worst job I ever had.
No, I didn't say it was worse. I would just want to hear about it.
Oh, no. What, parrots?
Welcome back to Behind the Screens, a weekly movies talk show with a new topic each week. And this week I'm so excited with my guest, Blake Jenner. We're here to talk about your movie, Juvenile. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Let's do a little catch-up first. How have you been besides being the best uncle ever?
Oh, yeah, you know about, about my nephews and niece?
Yeah,
oh, man.
the loves of your life.
Oh, they're incredible. Mila, I just saw her like a few days ago, and she's just the best. She's like, I can't wait till she can talk and we can actually have conversations and hang out, and I can throw some sunglasses on her and take some dope little pictures together looking like a little boy band album cover kind of thing. But other than that, yeah, just like kind of writing. I'm writing something new with a friend of mine. I've worked on I wrapped a movie a couple months ago, which I'm really proud of. I'm excited for that to come out. It's called American Animals. Other than that, kind of just keeping busy. Yeah.
Very, very busy.
Keeping creative. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you were born and raised in Miami. So before we get going, how are friends and family doing back home?
They are thankfully doing great. The storm kind of like went off course a little bit. You know, they got the outskirts of it all, but luckily, you know, they just had some tree damage and some roof damages, but everybody's fine.
Good,
so,
good.
Yeah.
Good to hear it. So let's get into Juvenile, because you just said you're writing something else now, but this is a film that you wrote and I believe was funded by Kickstarter, correct?
Yeah, a portion of it was funded by Kickstarter, and then a few other financiers that we had talked to saw like you know, the efforts that we made on Kickstarter, the video, everybody that was excited about it and gave funds to it, and they kind of came on board to finance the rest of it. So.
And now it's making its debut at Fantastic Fest, which is one of the biggest growing festival. I mean, I hear more and more about it every year.
I heard it's like the biggest genre film festival in the U.S., so that's pretty exciting. I've never been. So.
Apparently super fun. Like, people fight each other.
Nice. Well, I've been boxing too. I've done that.
Oh, really?
I've been doing that for like the past like 5-6 months.
That's
so
like
if people are fighting over there, I'm gonna fight.
That's a thing they do there.
All right, then I'm gonna fight somebody.
Do it. Exclusive. Blake Jenner's gonna fight somebody. But how does that feel, first of all? Like, how long has this journey been with this film?
It's been a few years. I think, you know, like three and a half. You know, from writing it. I started writing it when I was 20. And I was on vacation, and I kind of wrote the first 9 pages, and I read it, and I bounced it off a couple people, and I just decided to keep going with it. But it's crazy now, you know, you write it, you get it funded, then you're like on set, and that's like the first moment where you're like, all right, let me pinch myself, because this is insane. You see everybody that's cast, and they're perfectly cast for their roles. And then you see the first cut, the second cut, third cut as like the director's putting it all together. And now that we're about to like have our world premiere, this is pretty insane.
It's incredible too.
I'm so excited. I'm so proud of everybody involved.
I mean, most movies just don't get made, so this is it's an incredible feat.
Yeah.
You have a background in like sketch comedy and improv, but this movie is like dark and heavy.
Yeah.
What corner of your brain did this come from?
This one. No. No, well, I've always, you know, I've loved improv growing up, and you know, like Jim Carrey was my hero growing up, and I was in love with all of his, like, you know, physical comedy, and just like the first movie I saw that like made me want to be an actor was Dumb and Dumber. I was like, oh, that looks like fun. I can do that. I got into like plays, but I also had like a soft spot for movies like This Boy's Life and Good Will Hunting and Basketball Diaries and stuff like that. I grew up on those as well. So, when I was writing this, I was kind of coming from that corner of my heart. You know, it just felt like that's a story, because I'd written a few comedic scripts up until that point, and I was like, well, this is something I've never really explored in myself, and I've always wanted to write like a story of you know, a troubled youth with all the potential in the world, but he's just, you know, the odds are against him. And I wanted to tell that from my perspective, so I started writing this, and I fell in love. I wanted to marry it and see it through, and yeah, it was just a part of myself that I hadn't really spoken from, but I always knew it was there. So
tell me about teaming up with the director too, because I know you guys worked together on Glee.
Yeah, Brad Beaker, he's the man. He's the man. Yeah. When I was writing this, I would tell everyone that I would speak to about the script that Brad was like the first guy that would come to my mind. So I'd have so much fun working with him on Glee. You know, a lot of the heavy stuff, because my character went through a lot of stuff. He was like dyslexic and went through unrequited love and all this stuff, and I was always with him that I would go through that stuff. So we like worked well together, and I knew he had like a vision for editing and directing, and all of his stuff on Glee looked so beautiful. I sent him the script, and when he finally read it, he we had like a meeting. I think we met for like a glass of wine across the street from Paramount where we shot Glee, and he said I'm in, and he talked about how much he loved it, and we both kind of saw eye to eye on how we saw certain things, and yeah, we just hit the ground running.
Did you always write it with the intention that you would play Billy?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's such a departure for what people know you from, like Glee and Edge of 17 and Everybody Wants Some. It's a very different character.
Yeah, no. This was like a part of myself that I knew was in there. I was just like, no, I don't want to give this up to anybody. Even if I fall flat on my face, I want to be the one doing it. I was like, I'm seeing this through as Billy, for sure.
Well, you don't fall flat on your face, but...
Well, thank you.
And for the ladies, there's a little side frontal.
yeah, I guess. Yeah, we can give that away. There you go.
Spoilers.
Spoiler alert. Cover your eyes when that happens.
I want to do a little fill in the blank with you, because I read something interesting about you online today. It's not bad.
Uh-oh.
The worst job I ever had was...
Had to be Abercrombie Kids, right?
You worked at Abercrombie Kids?
Oh, yeah.
I heard you were a parrot salesman.
Oh, that wasn't the worst job I ever had. It said that was the worst job I ever had?
No, I didn't say it was worse. I would just want to hear about it.
Oh, no. What, parrots? The parrot shop?
They just have parrot shops? Like, they don't have... It's not like a...
Well, I'd never heard of one before. I mean, I know they sell parrots at, like, PetSmart and stuff like that, but there's this... I'll plug it in a little bit. There's a store called The Perfect Parrot on Riverside and Lankershim in North Hollywood. So go, because the people are great. But, yeah, that was one of my jobs, one of my odd jobs I had before I started on Glee. And, yeah, it was incredible. You know, it's like a little shop. You know, you go in, you kind of take the birds out of the cage at the start of the day. You put them out on their stands. You're, like, feeding them. There's, like, a cool African gray called Cowboy. And he'd, like, talk to you and be like, hey, Cowboy. And you give him, like, some Twizzlers that they had in the front and stuff. And you could just play with the birds. You feed them. And, you know, it's normal. It's like your average kind of bird shop. But it was cool. I got bit a few times. And when I first started, I was kind of, like, scared, you know. This huge parrot that they had. I think her name was Matilda. It's like a hyacinth. I forget how to say it. But yeah, no, it was a fun job. That wasn't the worst job I had, I thought, was Abercrombie Kids. Just because they would like spritz all the clothes in the morning.
Yep.
That's all you smell. And I would just have endless migraines.
Right.
You know, the whole day, and I'd go home with them. So.
I worked at PacSun, and they would do that, but like it was like...
PacSun wasn't that bad, though.
No, I loved that job.
Yeah, no, that's an awesome
But
fun.
I know what you mean with the scents.
They would spray it a bunch. Yeah.
My last meal on death row would be...
It would be...
Salmon, rice.
No, not that, not that. That's just what I make at home. It'd probably be like a Trust Me from Sugarfish.
Oh my God,
Maybe.
yeah.
I mean, yeah.
I know the Nozawa, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, that's what I usually do now. I go in there, like, not as often as I used to, so I'm just like, all right, yeah, just pile it on.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that it would be that. It would be that. I don't have it enough, and if you're, like, putting me on death row now, and asking me, I'm like, oh, okay, I'll revisit Sugarfish real quick.
I would do bottomless chips and salsa because then that's like a loophole.
Because then they're just like, all right, you done? You're like, no,
No.
I'm not ready yet.
More chips,
hey,
please.
that's a good, dude, yeah.
Or just bottomless mimosas,
No.
whatever. The one movie I could
What
watch.
if they would give you those? Probably not.
Yeah, well then you pass out and they kill you.
That's true.
The one movie I could watch every day and never get sick of is.
It's kind of deep, but my friends give me crap about it whenever they're coming over and I'm popping it in, and they're like, again, I love Manchester by the Sea.
Wow.
Yeah, that
I don't think
movie.
I can watch that
I
every
know it's
day.
so deep, but I just love the acting in it. I think everybody in that movie's great, and it's got like a dark take on comedy that I really appreciate. But yeah, that movie, it's at least as of late, yeah.
My biggest turnoff is.
I think it's like girls who make like pointless like nicknames / like abbreviations for words. Like I can't think of any right now.
Like if I
but
said
I know that
like OMG to you.
yeah, like stuff like that. Like if you're gonna say that, like it's one thing to text it, but if you're saying it,
Right.
like, I don't know, that'll just like drive me a little nuts.
LMAO, yeah, like
you
that
go
one.
LOL. I'll be like, all right, well I'm G2G, and I'm out of there. Yeah.
The song currently stuck in my head.
Actually, you know what I've been listening to? It's fun to run. I used to listen to oldies all growing up, but Stop the Love You Save and I Want You Back by the Jackson 5. That's been on my mind for a while.
Nice.
Yeah, I've been jamming out to that.
All that's
recently.
like, I mean, I guess it's never really gone away, but I feel like the Guardian stuff has just revived it more.
Yeah.
My number one bucket, sorry. My number one
Put a
bucket, talk with my hands. My number one bucket list travel destination is.
I really, really want to go to Japan. one day I watched a documentary a while ago with a friend of mine. It was called Hero Dreams of Sushi. And there's this one place where it's like the waiting list is like 6 months long, but apparently it's the best sushi you could have in the world. I forget what it is, but it's like what it's called. But it's like a restaurant in the subway station in Japan. So, I mean, yeah, that would be incredible. Yeah.
Word. He's going to Japan,
Yeah,
y'all.
one day.
That's what I got.
Boom, boom, boom.
Boom, boom, boom. Well, thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me.
Congratulations on this movie. It's fantastic and dark, and you're going to be thinking about it for days, weeks, months, years.
Thank you so much. I'm excited. Yeah.
So thanks. Thanks, guys.